was dope.
All right, we're back with Rufus Villain's True Crime Corner, episode 8.
Yo, what's up? Good to be
Dude,
back.
yeah, dude, I can't believe we've been doing it this long.
I know, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
we put in a lot of research out. Who are we doing today?
So today, my friend, we are going to discuss D.B. Cooper.
Oh man, I'm so excited that because you brought this one up.
Yeah.
And it's one of these true crime stories that's never been solved.
Yeah, exactly. It's really nebulous. It's sort of a different path than we normally do as far as just like the straight up sort of, biography or whatever about a person.
Yeah,
so
beginning to end.
Yeah, exactly. Those are very sort of linear, and this one's just really not.
Yeah, and he was really cool because I watched before you got here tonight. I watched a documentary, and they were talking to a lot of people that were like on the plane with him, and like they were showing like sketches and stuff like that. And oh, did this person was this him? No, that wasn't him, and no, that wasn't him.
There were a lot of mixed descriptions from the past.
Right, and like the main one that I saw that was like consistent was the reflective glasses.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's what I saw. That was like the main thing that like, and the cigarette smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we'll probably get into it later, but one of the things I saw was he was it bourbon that he drank?
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So basically, we like to bring you guys some new stuff all the time. Like we typically go back and forth between my choice and Josh's choice. Today was D.B. Cooper, which is Josh's choice. So where do you want to start? Because I know at the time that there was a lot of people that were coming home from being like fighter pilots and stuff like that, and which had experience in like jumping out of airplanes and kind of, do you get what I'm saying? You know?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, because at the times of DB Cooper, it was 71, right?
It was 71, yes.
Yeah, so there was a lot of people coming home from actually being like paratroopers and stuff like that.
That's true, yes.
Yeah, so there would be no reason to believe that he wouldn't have, whoever he was, had experience in jumping out of airplanes at 200 miles an hour at how many feet?
Oh yeah, it was about 10,000 feet. So yeah. So anyway, that sort of leads me into the state of the country at that time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because Vietnam caused a lot of political and social turmoil, just as far as controversy regarding should we be there, should we not be there. In the fall of '71, Nixon promised to bring the troops home. Which was right around, November 71 was when this incident occurred. So it was very prescient, as far as the people were concerned, and at least 1/3 of all the troops that came home were addicted to heroin.
Oh my God!
And so
was that from like surgeries and stuff like that?
It was. I think I don't really know. I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but I think it was just because.
Well, we weren't there.
Yeah,
so.
A lot of them, they either just started using over there just recreationally, or they. Used it for pain relief or whatever.
Yeah, well, opium is a big thing over there.
Oh yeah. And so anyway, it was really rough for the military. Soldiers were refusing orders. In 1970, there were over 100 incidents of fragging, which was where soldiers killed officers. So there was a lot of that kind of thing going on. They inscribed anti-war sentiments on their helmets. One thing that I found was the unwilling, led by the unqualified, doing the unnecessary for the ungrateful.
Oh my God! How more nihilist can you get?
Right.
That's like I'm here to defend your ass, and you don't care.
Well, there were over 60,000 dead and 150,000 wounded, and it was essentially proven that the government was lying about their actions over there. So people were really upset.
Yeah.
There were countless protests and rallies. Many turned violent, and in Syracuse, the police chief said that teens were using cars for guerrilla-type warfare on his officers and hit and runs.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's rough.
So there were over 700 bomb threats.
That's the original GTA.
Buildings.
Say it again. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No worries. There were over 700 bomb threats in federal buildings.
Wow.
200,000 plus activists went to the Capitol, and over 12,000 of them were arrested in one day.
Well, you can't forget about like the protests for Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like think about how many protests there were for Vietnam.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
At that day, this era, that it was a volatile time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a volatile time.
Yep. And so also, the airlines were having some trouble too. In the late 60s and early 70s, an average of one plane a week was hijacked, particularly after the U.S. banned flight to Cuba.
Okay.
So a lot of people
Bay
would
pigs.
hijack a plane and say, "Hey, I want to go to Cuba," and
No.
so, but amid the recession and the hard times in the country, the airlines didn't want to spend the millions of dollars that it would take to install metal detectors, and they blamed it on not wanting to hassle their business class passengers.
Yeah, and that's that. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good.
But like that's one of the big things I saw on the documentary I watched tonight. Like in compare, like you did some research, but I just watched a documentary.
Yes. Oh, thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh,
but
go
I
ahead.
need my source for this.
Oh, we need to cite that.
Yes, I always forget at the beginning, and I apologize. But I had a really great audiobook. It was called Skyjack: The Hunt for D.B. Cooper by Jeffrey Gray. I highly recommend it if you're into D.B. Cooper lore. Also, I watched some National Geographic and History Channel videos.
The one I watched
those
was
are very
Nat
good
Geo.
too. Yep. So anyway, I'm sorry. Please continue.
What I was getting at is they were talking about like they didn't put anybody through metal detectors.
Right.
Didn't even do pat downs.
Yeah, and then there were no security checks, no ID checks. Like you could literally walk on there with anything you wanted.
That's like, cause we'll get. I'm sure you'll get into it, but like he walked onto the plane just like looking like a businessman.
Yep. So, so they wanted to sort of do something to quell all of the anxiety. So they introduced air marshals, and the FAA began compiling profiles of hijackers. Quote unquote.
Oh my goodness.
And so the airlines were working to improve their image regarding safety and convenience, and because too often flights would crash or disappear. There was a really famous Alaskan flight that just disappeared, and commercial flight was still very young, and so the majority of their customers were just business class people, that were traveling for meetings or whatever, and so people were actually using alcohol or hypnotism to overcome the pervasive fear of flying. And a lot of that was just claustrophobia or lack of control or what have you.
And it was crazy. You could actually smoke on. Well, we're gonna get there. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so the airlines invested in ad campaigns to reduce passenger fears. Flight attendants were turned into sex objects to ease passengers. They were made to wear sexy uniforms,
Coffee, tea, me,
and voice sexy commercials. This strong customer enticement was another reason why they were against metal detectors.
Oh, okay.
So next, I would like to talk about the plane that was the plane that we're going to be flying on today.
What was it? Was it a Boeing 747?
So it was a 727.
727.
Yes,
okay.
It was also known as the Stubby. The Boeing 727 was popular with the airlines at this time because it had a signature aft staircase and very powerful engines, which made it easier to load and unload in small commercial airports.
And you couldn't stop the stairs from going down once it started.
Okay.
That was one thing I saw. Yeah,
And so, it was handy because when they were at smaller airports, they didn't have to pull up to like the big contraption that comes up to the door and stuff. They could just drop the stairs and load people off and on, And so in the 60s, the CIA actually used the Stubby to make cargo and personnel drops in Vietnam. Operatives would parachute off the aft stairs down into the jungle.
At speed.
That sounds familiar. Where have I heard that
We're both.
before?
You guys can't see us, but we're both stroking our chins. Continue, sir.
And so that's just a little background on
Yeah.
sort of
Well,
where
a
we were.
real quick side story. My dad actually in the 70s was a kid and actually flew on one of those planes, and they gave him the choice to like go out the back on those stairs.
Yeah.
And my grandma and grandpa went like out on the other way.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "Hey!" Like he went out the back and was like all excited because like I told him about that we're doing DB Cooper.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, dude, I did that. I did that." So anyway, I just thought that was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. He's like, he like explained to me like watching like the stair, because what he explained to me is like in the back, once the crew initiates the thing to go down,
Yep.
there's no like mechanism at the front of the plane to stop it from going down.
Right. Yeah. No, it was all very sort of, compared to today's planes, it was all sort of very primitive.
Oh, yeah.
Just initially, like, You shouldn't be able to put the aft stairs down while the plane is flying.
Right.
But you could do that.
Well, it's cabin pressure at
and-
that point. It's cabin pressure.
And that's the thing. We'll get into that.
I know.
But that's why the CIA used it, was because you could put the aft stairs down while you were flying, and they would do cargo drops, they would do personnel drops, and all that stuff. So and people with military experience might just have some knowledge of that.
Just might have some ideas.
Next, I would like to actually talk about the day of the event itself.
So that was the day before Thanksgiving.
It was Wednesday, November 24th, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving. So it was a super busy travel day.
That was one of the smart things on Cooper's side, was like there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people, and like just go check in as Dan Cooper.
Yep.
And like nobody's gonna check his ID.
Yes.
Nobody's gonna just get on the plane.
So today we begin at the Portland International Airport. A man carrying a briefcase pays $20
I saw that.
for the Northwest Airlines 245 flight number 305, by the way.
305.
From Portland to Seattle under the name Dan Cooper. It is scheduled,
$20 for a flight, man.
It was actually $18.70 something plus tax.
He's just like, here's a 20.
Yep. So
Keep the change, bitch.
It's one of the shortest flights on their route. It's only from Seattle to Portland, and so usually it's scheduled to be at half an hour flight. There are also no ID or security checkpoints,
Which is insane.
Yeah, absolutely insane. So attendant Flo Schaffner meets Dan Cooper at the bottom of the aft stairs and checks his ticket. He is dressed in a suit as a typical businessman and has
With a clip-on tie.
sunglasses.
With a clip-on
He
tie.
did have a clip-on tie. He is slim, around 170 pounds, and about 6 feet with dark hair. Dan makes his way to the back row and takes a seat. I will, from this point forward, refer to him as Dan.
Well, that's just the easiest. It's just the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. So there are 36 passengers and 6 crew members aboard the flight.
Well, and one of the crazy things is like, okay, so he's sitting there and he's smoking cigarettes, and that's when he passes the note to what was her name again?
We'll get there. That's
okay. I don't want to jump ahead.
No, you're good.
But like that's kind of like where my reference is at this point for the story.
Yep.
Like he's on the plane, like he's like just chain smoking, orders some bourbon, and
so he sits down in the back of the plane. Flo takes drink orders, and Dan orders a bourbon and 7-Up.
That's right. Okay.
Directly after takeoff, he hands her a note. At first, she thinks it's a love note and just drops it in
and
her pocket.
he's like, look at it.
He stares at her until she opens it.
Yeah. What does it say? I have.
So she opens the envelope and reads the note. I have a bomb here, and I'd like you to sit by me.
That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. That's what it is.
So Flo sits as she's asked and calls over Tina Mucklow, another cabin attendant, showing her the note. And so Tina uses the direct line to the cockpit to tell the pilots what's happening. So the pilots were William Scott, also better known as Scotty. And
we don't have enough dilithium crystals, Captain. Sorry. That's bad. I'm sorry. That's bad.
And the co-pilot was Bill Radicek. While Scotty and Bill are trying to decide their best course of action, Dan instructs Flo to take this down. So these were his ransom demands. He wanted $200,000 in cash by 5 p.m. in a knapsack. This was actually right after the plane took
when did
off.
the plane take off?
He gave her the drink order. As soon as the plane takes off, he hands her the note.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I wrote it down like when the plane took off, but my notes are over there. I didn't bring them in the studio.
Yep.
But like this is only taking place over like an
5
hour.
minutes. No,
yeah.
but it's only a 30-minute flight total.
Okay. Yeah,
So
okay, you're right.
He gets on the plane. He sits down. He orders a drink. The plane takes off. He hands her the note.
Yeah.
Right? So then Tina takes that note up to the cockpit, right? And then
He ends up asking for the note back too.
he does, yes, eventually. So, anyway, he wanted $200,000 in cash by 5 p.m. in a knapsack. No specific denominations were requested. He wanted 2 back and 2 front parachutes. He wanted a fuel truck ready at the landing. He wanted meals for the flight crew and
Meals for the flight crew.
and no funny business or I'll do the job.
No funny business. I see.
So,
Well, he twists his villain mustache.
exactly. Flo convinces Dan to let her take the note to the cockpit while Tina sits with him in her place. So, Flo goes to the cockpit while the pilots grill her about the hijacker and the bomb. She describes it as red sticks and wires along with a battery.
Who do at that point are like, are you going to be like, that might be a bomb or it might be just like a prop, but like, what are you going to do?
Right,
like,
right.
There's how many people were on the flight?
36
Yeah,
passengers and 6 crew.
Like if you're flight staff, you're gonna like, we got to do. You're not gonna put somebody's like.
Yeah.
Well, like one of the documentary I saw is like he's holding two wires and threatening to put them together.
Yeah, there were a couple of different accounts of that. One of them was that he had like a staple remover, like with the wires.
Really?
So it was like
as like a trigger.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So Scotty called the Northwest headquarters in Minnesota, where his transmission was recorded via teletype. Passenger has advised this is a hijacking en route to Seattle. The stew was handed a note. He requests $200,000 in a knapsack by 5 p.m. He wants 2 back parachutes and 2 front parachutes. He wants the money in negotiable American currency. Denomination not important.
That's what fucked him though.
Has bomb in briefcase and will use it if anything is done to block his request.
See, his denomination thing was what fucked him.
Yeah.
Because it went from, well, I think $200,000 in $100 bills would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 pounds.
So yeah, so the 20s were 23 pounds.
Yeah, yeah, and they brought it to him in like this big ass knapsack.
Yep. So at Northwest Airlines, the decision on whether to comply goes to the president, Don Nyrop. Nyrop decides to comply and instructs the feds to find the chutes. So the FBI doesn't have many details, so they question the ticket clerk working that afternoon, Dennis Lisney, about anyone suspicious. Lisney says he remembers the last person to buy a ticket to be slightly suspicious. His name was Dan Cooper. In the sky, a storm is moving in. It begins to rain.
Dude, and this is this about the point where they're over the Pacific Northwest? Because it goes on autopilot after a while, right?
So they're actually flying from Portland to Seattle at this point. So there's a couple of different.
Yeah, because I saw a diagram of their flight plan.
That was probably going back south because they left Seattle and again.
Oh, okay. Because you can actually see like the diagram I saw of their flight plan actually shows like their time, their altitude, and their cabin pressure.
Oh yeah,
which indicates like when they think he might have jumped.
Right. Yeah, and that's
I'm getting ahead.
Really, the sort of the sketchy part about it, was like he had these specific details that he requested, and like in retrospect, like it really sort of helped him out situationally regarding what he was trying to do.
Yeah,
and like in the time,
he's like, oh, let's go to Reno.
They didn't really realize, all of the benefits that his demands would have until after the fact.
Right.
So, in Seattle, a local detective, McKenna, is briefed and instructed to retrieve the $200,000 from the First National Bank and bring it to the
I was
airport.
actually going to ask what the bank was because I forgot.
It was the First National Bank of Seattle, along with bank officials. So the money is from the bank's robbery contingency, and
which has the serial numbers.
Right. So all of the serial numbers are sequential and logged. It has no other die packs or other deterrents. But it's delivered in a canvas bag inside a leather satchel, which was not what he asked for, by the way.
By the way, BC Dubs.
State troopers go to Issaquah Skyport, a parachute jump center. They get the front chutes from the proprietor, Lynn Emmerich. The front chutes are designed to clip onto the main chutes as reserves. The rear chutes are delivered to the airport in a taxi by pilot Norman Hayden. So, inside the SeaTac Airport Operations Office, bank officials hand the canvas bag of money to FBI boss J. Earl Milnes, who then directly hands it to Al Lee, Northwest Air's director of flying. It is roughly a foot square and 9 inches tall. It weighs 23 pounds. It is 20s, 100 packs of $2,000 each.
Yeah, see, that's a lot of money, dude. That's a lot of paper.
Yeah,
is what that is. A lot of paper.
23 pounds of paper.
Yeah, and if you're like an experienced jumper, and you're not like ready for 23 extra pounds, that's gonna present a problem.
Yeah,
that's like close to jumping with like a child with you.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And like because I forget what was the flight attendant's name? The first one,
Flo.
Yeah, she on the documentary that I watched, it was like she was like because he instructed her to go to the cabin, and she looked back and she thought she saw him like latching it to his body.
That was Tina, actually, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they piled all the demands along with the parachute instructions into the trunk of Detective McKenna's car. So I thought it was funny they included parachute instructions. So meanwhile, on the plane, everyone is growing restless waiting. The pilots decide to ask Dan if he wants the passengers to be aware of what's happening.
Oh, okay.
He says no.
Because they actually depart the plane not knowing what's happening. Right?
They found out eventually. So,
okay.
So then the pilots make up an excuse. Ladies and gents, there's been a slight mechanical problem. We've been asked to circle Seattle to burn excess fuel. So lightning and thunder are crashing all around them, and the passengers are growing anxious, and they begin to ask the stews questions. What's happening? Why would we need to burn fuel for a mechanical failure? And all the time they have this in the back of their minds about all the crashes and the disappearing planes and everything like that. So, they were really stressed out. And Dan was also worried about sky marshals. But Tina,
oh, yeah, because that was a thing at that point.
Yeah. But Tina assures him there are none on board. And so she actually asks him when the passengers will be released. Dan reviews his demands, tell her what he wants, and says that when the plane is fueled and the money and the chutes are on board, he'll release the passengers. So Tina tries to ask Dan about where he's from and why he chose Northwest Airlines and if he has a grudge with them. Dan replies, "I don't have a grudge against your airline, miss. I just have a grudge."
Well, it just speaks to the point of him like being one of our first badasses. Bonnie and Clyde aside. Well, Bonnie. I want to do Bonnie and Clyde at some time.
Definitely.
But like, he had his shit together. Like, doesn't matter if he passed away or not. He still got away with it.
Right.
Anyway.
Yep. So the plane has now been circling for nearly 3 hours. And if you do our time math, it started at 2:45, which means it's actually after 5 now if it's been 3 hours.
Right.
And he wanted the money by 5 p.m. So he realizes it's after 5, and then he starts to get even more anxious. The pilots tell Tina that
smoking cigarettes like crazy.
Right. They're only waiting on the front chutes. Dan tells them to descend anyway, and just then they get word that the front chutes have arrived.
Didn't you? I might be repeating something you said, but the front chutes are driven up by a different individual.
Right. Yeah. So
okay.
the state troopers brought the front chutes from the Sky Center, and then a pilot shipped the rear chutes over.
Okay. I'm just like trying to keep point.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Flight 305 begins the descent. The airport is closed. SWAT sets up near the runway as the feds and the FAA listen to the action on the radio close by. Actually, I was listening. It was like big radio action all on the air control airwaves, and there was some planes actually put the radio traffic for the hijacking on like their intercoms.
Oh my God!
So the passengers could like listen, and it was like
Whoa.
entertainment for everybody.
Whoa!
So not the plane that was being hijacked.
Well, yeah. Still,
so,
whoa!
Right. So Detective McKenna and Al Lee wait in the cruiser on the runway for the plane. So the 727 rolls onto the runway as Scotty talks to Al about getting the fuel truck out as soon as possible. A truck with stairs attaches to the front exit as the fuel truck arrives. So Dan sends Tina to get the money. She retrieves it in the pouring rain from Al Lee and lugs it back to Dan onto the plane. He immediately sees
big
it's in
ass
the wrong
bag of money.
bag. Yeah. He feels around in the bag, though, and seems satisfied enough, even though the bag wasn't right. So Tina jokes with him. "There's a lot in there. Can I have some?" Dan hands her a pack of 20s and says he wants her to have
that's
it.
true, gentleman.
Yeah, that was $2,000. He's like, "Here you go." So she replies with
It's not
a
like
smile.
she get to keep it. Yeah.
"Sorry, no tips." So Dan allows the passengers to leave, and the attendants see them off board. Tina is asked to get the chutes once the cabin is cleared. Flo and Alice, the first class attendant, are allowed to get their things, and they hurry off the plane, while Tina stays with Dan. The pilots wait in the cockpit for the fuel truck. Since Dan makes Tina sit with him, the pilots won't leave without her.
Well, yeah.
So, and they were talking sort of like back and forth at the tower. And I might have mentioned this later, but I'll just talk about it now.
Yeah.
So while they were waiting, They actually got some maps and some flight paths for like different places that he might want to go.
Okay.
And they also got some emergency escape instructions. And so basically, Boeing has this thing where you can push out the windshield on the plane and escape down a rope ladder out of the cockpit. But they didn't want to leave without Tina. So that's why they didn't do that.
Oh, okay. So, see, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of awesome that they wouldn't leave without one of their crew members.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yep. So Dan's sort of messing with the money, like he realizes it's in the wrong bag, and he's trying to figure out what he's going to do because it's not what he asked for, and he can't really attach it to himself in the canvas bag. So Tina watches as Dan opens up one of the front chutes and uses the shroud lines to wrap the money bag.
I saw that.
And tie a noose-like slip knot so it's easier to secure.
Which speaks to experience in tying a knot.
Right. While they wait for the fuel truck to finish, Dan makes more flight demands. This time, he says that they must fly with the landing gear down.
Right, and the flaps down.
And the flaps at 15 degrees. They must fly to Mexico City and no stops in the United States. All cabin lights must be out, and no one can come behind the first class curtain. So you have the cockpit, first class, and then the cabin, right? So he wanted everybody up in the cockpit and nobody.
And
back
they didn't
there
have the fuel to make it to Mexico City, right?
Because of his flying conditions, but we'll talk about that too. So he also wanted a maximum altitude of 10,000 feet with the aft door open and the stairs down. So these flight conditions would be very stressful on engines and fuel and cause the plane to move slowly. About a max speed of 200 miles an hour.
Okay.
Which is slow for that.
And is this where we get into the fighter jets trying to follow? And
we're getting there. Yep,
okay.
So also a maximum altitude of 10,000 feet would prevent the cabin from being pressurized. And so when the aft door was open, he wouldn't get sucked out. Yeah. So meanwhile...
Speaking to knowledge of aviation.
Exactly. So meanwhile, the feds pick up all the passengers in a bus. They have them all on the bus, and they do a roll call for all the released passengers and check it with the 305 passenger list. The only person missing is one Dan Cooper. So that's sort of how they figured out who he was, or who he said he was. Anyway. Yeah. So a journalist with a connection in the FBI spoke to an agent about the case and misheard D. Cooper as D.B. Cooper. And so D.B. Cooper was born.
I almost beat you to it.
And so, so he was talking to the agent, and he's like, his name is D. Cooper. And so the journalist was like, D.B.? And so, like, that's how it sort of got mistranslated. But then the feds decided to go with it because, it would filter their focus on the leads, so they could only focus on the Dan Cooper leads.
It would like water it down,
right? Well, it would compartmentalize it, because they knew that all the DB Cooper leads were from probably people who heard newspaper stories and weren't very knowledgeable, and they could focus on the Dan Cooper leads.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So on the plane, the pilots are ready for takeoff after the refuel. So Dan wants Tina to stay in the cabin with him to show him how the aft stairs work. After it's explained that they can't take off with them down. He wanted them down to begin with.
To start off with.
We can't do that. So he's like, well, I'll need you to stay back here and help me. So on the runway, though, he gets annoyed with her worry and sends her back to the cockpit after she shows him how they work. So as Tina closes the first class curtain behind her, she sees him fasten the money bag around his waist with the shroud lines.
Okay.
So while they were waiting, the pilots were also sent flight paths and maps to Mexico, and also an emergency escape plan from where they can remove the windshield and escape down a rope ladder like I was talking about.
Okay.
So the plane finally takes off as law enforcement watches from the runway. FBI agent Ralph Himmelsbach tries to catch up with the plane in a helicopter from the Portland airport.
Good luck.
Right.
Good luck. You're not going to catch up with a fucking airplane on a fucking... Dude, like... What's an amazing thing about this whole story? Like, because we haven't, like, the United States hasn't dealt with something like this yet.
Right.
They haven't dealt with something, on this magnitude. Like, there's a bomb, there's, like, a guy that's willing to jump out of the airplane, which they don't know.
Right.
But, like, he's been successful with having the plane land and take back off.
Right.
Think about that for a minute.
Yep.
Like, even today, that wouldn't happen today.
Mm-hmm.
and not even knowing who this guy was.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
just a fake name, fake everything, no background, no ID.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
So 2 F-102 fighter jets were dispatched to chaperone the plane, and also a T-33 recon jet is dispatched to track them. The jets have to circle the plane because it is moving so slowly.
Because they can't move slow enough without stalling. They have to like circle.
Right, because it's only going like 200 miles an hour.
Well, in a fighter jet, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, Mach 3 or something.
Yeah.
So aboard the plane, Dan calls the cockpit asking for help with the aft stairs, but momentarily the pilots see an aft stair light indicator and assume he got them down on his own.
They saw the red light in the cabin.
Yeah. So that was the first indication. So they, when the aft stairs go down, they get a warning light. And so that was their.
Because there's also a drop in cabin pressure at that point.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So the outside air thermometer in the cockpit read -7 degrees Celsius.
Oh my god.
The co-pilot, Bill Radicek, calls into the cabin with the phone to see if they can get him anything. Everything is okay, he responds.
Everything's okay.
So the flying pattern and configuration of the plane burned lots of extra fuel and was incredibly hard on the engines. The pilots knew they would not make it to Mexico without another fuel stop and decided on Reno, Nevada.
Didn't didn't Cooper say like, "Oh, Nevada's fine" or something like that?
Well, yeah. So they asked him, if that would be okay, and he's like, "Yeah, Nevada's nice. Or Reno's nice.
Reno's nice. Yeah,
so
yeah.
but and originally he had said no stops in the U.S.
Yeah,
but
there was a compromise and
I think it was also just sort of him bluffing a little bit because he knew he wasn't going to be there when they landed in Reno anyway, but he wanted to make them feel like he was continuing on with his plan, to go to Mexico.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
that makes sense.
Yep. So the pilots notice oscillations.
You guys can't see Josh do quotations, but yeah.
On the cabin instruments and assume he is adjusting the air stairs. The cabin instruments begin to spin uncontrollably. A few moments later, Radicek calls the cabin again, explaining they must stop in Reno for fuel, as they have no choice. There's no response. They approach Reno, and Tina calls back to the cabin once more. "Sir, we're going to land now. Please put up the aft stairs." Still no response. So
presumably Cooper's jumped at this point.
Well, he's just not responding, so they don't know.
Okay.
So officials, though, want to know if he jumped. He would have had no jumpsuit, no helmet.
Wearing a suit.
A pantsuit.
Yeah.
He had no jumpsuit, no helmet, and no gloves. The plane rolls to a stop in Reno, aft stairs down, as they screech, spark, and grind to a stop on the runway. Can you imagine,
no Cooper on the fucking plane?
Scotty and Tina can cautiously unlock the cockpit door and call into the cabin. Still no response. Scotty unlatches the first class curtain and moves into the cabin. Dan Cooper is gone.
Gangster shit.
So that was pretty much, the event.
Right. And it's the crazy thing is, it's like nobody can, to this day, in 2019, from 1971, can explain what fucking happened.
Yeah, it's the only American unsolved hijacking.
That was the way I was going to, because I tried to phrase it earlier. And
Yeah. So, and actually that leads me, let's talk about the investigation a little bit.
Okay.
Yep. So at dawn the next morning, this would be November 25th.
Thanksgiving Day.
Yep, Thanksgiving Day. Himmelsbach flies his personal plane in a grid looking for the hijacker. He would fly this grid for years in search of Dan Cooper. The FBI processes the serial numbers on the cache and prints them in a booklet for the public. All of the Northwest FBI offices are involved in the search.
Okay.
And so Himmelsbach was the guy on the documentary. He was actually the original FBI agent on the case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the old guy who's he's probably just a crooked old crime. But anyway, I digress.
Well, I remember guy Smoking the Bandit. You know what I'm talking about? Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds?
He played D.B. Cooper in a movie called Without a Paddle.
Yeah, because I remember that. It wasn't specifically about D.B. Cooper.
No, but he just played him.
Yeah. So the FBI questions all of the passengers and the stews Flo describes Dan as slim, 6 feet tall, in his 40s, with black hair and brown eyes, with a black suit. Witness descriptions, though, are very conflicting. Tina puts him at 5'10", with hazel eyes and brown hair and a dark brown suit. There were also a wide variety of descriptions from passengers. In the cabin of the plane, they dust for prints and search for evidence.
Well, that was one of the big things is they the prints off his glass could not have gotten taken because that got mixed back into his other all the other glasses.
Yeah, but that was the thing is there were just so many random fingerprints on.
Well, and they didn't have DNA at that point, so they couldn't they couldn't take off his cigarette butts.
Right. So at his seat, they find 8 Raleigh cigarette butts, a head hair, and an arm hair, both Caucasian. A black clip-on tie from JCPenney's
with 2 buttons.
Well, it was the pin,
two tie pin. I think is what.
Yeah, it was like a pearlish pin.
Yeah,
and the cannibalized front parachute. So November 26th, the following day, 17 sheriff's cars from 5 counties gather in Woodland, Washington, to search for Dan Cooper. They also employ 6 planes and local helicopters to search the grid. Boats patrol the waters. They were on it. They were doing everything. So trying to determine where he jumped, they reconstruct the timeline.
It's like a 20-mile area, wasn't it?
Right. So it was way bigger than that. So the aft stair light came on at 7:42. Okay.
Right. Okay. So like I said before, I actually saw a diagram that they showed a flight plan of where the air pressure dropped in the plane,
right,
to where they figured that's when he.
Right. So the light came on at 7:42. The report of oscillations was at 8:12. Okay, so that's a half an hour window right there.
Yeah.
Right. So
because he could have stood there and tried to work his nerve up for half an hour.
Right. So the oscillations most likely refer to a pressure bump in the cabin. Okay. So they speculate that his combined weight with the cash was enough to make the stairs descend. But the air pressure was pushing up on the bottom simultaneously, creating a springboard effect. Okay? Oh. So once he jumped, the stairs closed and the cabin pressure changed, causing the bump and the oscillation.
God damn it, man. He could have gotten away with the perfect crime. If we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Well, he hasn't been caught. So
he could have got away with the perfect crime.
Yep.
But there's so many theories.
Yep. And there's so many variables too. So they had to determine exactly when it happened. But what if there was a delay between the jump and the report?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Or the bump, the bump and the report. So what if the light came on and then 2 minutes later they're like, oh, we have an aft light on,
Right.
So there was too much.
Well, he could have been out of the plane before they even saw the light.
Exactly. So they give a 10-mile width for the flight path because, with the parachute, you can
there was a lot of winds at the time too, right?
There was a little bit of wind. So the plane was traveling at about 3 miles a minute. Okay. So if they give a 5-minute window for error, because the bump was at 8:12. So if they figure from 8:11 to 8:16, that would be 3 miles a minute times 5 minutes would be 15 miles.
Okay.
So then you multiply that by the 10-mile width and you get 150 square miles of search radius in the dense Pacific Northwest forests.
Exactly.
And it's wintertime.
Exactly.
It's November.
Exactly.
So, they would search as long and as often as the weather permits, resuming intermittently over the next 18 months.
Damn, was it really 18 months?
At least 18 months.
Oh, my God.
Not a single trace of evidence was ever found.
That's what's amazing.
By them, at least.
That's what's amazing.
Yeah. So the FBI summoned the pro skydiver Earl Cossey to Seattle.
This was the guy that I was talking to you about, yeah.
To inquire about the chutes, as he was the one who'd packed them.
Well, he even did practice jumps.
He did, yes. So he said the 2 rear chutes were different types. One was a Pioneer. It was like a luxury recreational chute. And the other was a military chute, the NB6, or Navy Back 6.
And that's a smaller chute, right?
It's not smaller, but it's more rugged. So
okay.
The Pioneer was much easier to guide while falling, and it had padded straps and easy to pull handles. Right, so it was more luxury for it was nicer. So
easier to control.
Exactly, it was easier to guide, easier to pull. Just everything was better. So the NB6 was much more bare bones and rugged.
You need to know what you're doing to do
It
that
just
one.
had basic straps and pulls and nearly no guidance at all on descent. Dan chose the NB6 over the Pioneer, which made the FBI believe he was former military.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the funny thing, the front chute that he took was a training dummy, and the canopy seams were sewn shut so it would not open. It was mistakenly given to the state trooper for the hijacker.
Oh, shit.
They didn't do it on purpose, but it was a
shit.
training chute. So, like, I guess it was
So he got
just
a
sort
dummy
of,
chute.
it was coincidence that the one he opened on the plane was a proper chute. Remember, because he opened that one for the shroud lines.
Okay.
And then he took the other one with him.
So one of the ones he jumped with was a dummy suit, a dummy chute.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the dummy chute wouldn't have attached onto the NB6, right? So the front chute
Okay.
has clips that attach onto D-rings on the back chute, and it's
Yeah, I
like
know
a
what you
reserve
mean.
chute,
Yeah, I know what you
right?
mean.
But the NB6 didn't have the proper D-rings for the front chute to attach on,
Right.
so it was a moot point anyway.
Okay, that's
So-
that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting. So it does really speak to the fact that, like, one way or the other, Cooper had an understanding of parachutes.
Definitely, yeah,
One way or the other, like no matter how you look at it,
yeah,
he had an understanding of parachutes.
for sure.
So
Yeah,
there's a possibility that he
it's
made it to the
definitely
ground.
possible. So Cossie determined, as you just said, that it would be possible to survive a jump in the described conditions with only a few prior jumps for experience. He believed the chance for injury was extremely high, however, given the rugged chute and the rough terrain. But nothing was ever found for years. So what happened to Dan Cooper?
See, that's there's so much, like, you know what you're going back to, and you know what I'm going to bring up. So Cooper jumped over the Pacific Northwest.
Let's talk about some other stuff first.
All right, go ahead, because you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
But go ahead.
We get there.
Go ahead.
So like I said, I just wanted to mention like a few other things like that. That's basically the majority of what I have, but definitely something worth mentioning. It's actually still an active case.
Oh yeah,
Ralph Himmelsbach was the original FBI agent on the case.
Well, he still works for
he's retired, but he's pretty much. I mean, I don't want to use the term obsessed because I don't know much about him personally, but like he was very, very involved. Like he flew his plane on his own personal time.
It would be so hard to be involved with that case and not like just be.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's actually still active. Larry Carr is actually the current FBI agent that's working on the case.
I saw him,
and so he's in all the documentaries. Also, Jeffrey Gray, the author of the book, is actually in that documentary too.
And
so they actually have a civilian scientist group. There was an online.
I saw that.
forum.
There's a guy from Tucson, Arizona, that's actually part of that.
Oh, cool.
He's a paleontologist, actually, that did
Tom Kay.
I'm not sure what his name is.
There's a paleontologist. His name's Tom Kay, but I did not know that he was from Arizona.
I just saw it from the documentary. It said Tucson, Arizona, and it showed him, and he was like, he's a paleontologist and was doing an analysis on the tide.
Yeah, that's Tom Kay.
With analyzing pollen from like the different like years and where it could have come from.
Right.
But that dude's actually from Tucson.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, they sort of have like this online forum, and like they have like even recently in recent years they've developed search parties. They'll go out, they'll do experiments where they're like, there's a chance he landed in the Washuga River, there's a chance he landed in the Columbia River. So they'll like take a bundle of money,
because the worst thing he could have done is hit water.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So they'll like take a bundle of money, like put it in the water and see how it travels and where it goes and stuff like that. And so I feel like he either, like you said, got in some water somehow.
Yeah, it's the worst thing that could have happened.
Or he had some help escaping. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
he could. For all we know, he's in Panama right now with some Mai Tais.
Well,
he might be like 80.
Yeah.
But.
So I mean, and I think it's very possible, for him to have gotten away with it. And actually, so in 1980. There was a kid, his name is Brian Ingram. He was camping with his dad on the Columbia River.
He was on the documentary.
And so he actually found 3 bundles of cash.
Yeah, it was like how much money
It
altogether?
was $5,800.
Yeah.
So it was
like
3
a
bundles,
like a quarter of the money.
No, it wasn't a quarter. It was only $6,000.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah. So, but it was very worn. Like if you picture a dollar bill, like if you think
I saw
about
the pictures of it.
Yeah, if you think about like only the inside oval, like right around the serial numbers.
It's like taking the
picture,
bill and
basically.
setting fire to the outside of it.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the inward oval, and it was still wrapped in the rubber band.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
So, I mean, that's the only hard evidence that they've ever found.
Well, like
anything.
one of the things I saw in that video in particular is like maybe he buried it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But the money was actually upriver from where they thought he jumped or where they thought he dropped.
Exactly, because they dredged the river.
Yeah, well, it was 20 miles upriver, and the money wouldn't have gone upriver, right?
Yeah.
So, and furthermore, like you said, the river was dredged in 1974, which means that it could have only appeared after that, which means it had to have gone back there 3 years later.
10 years?
3 years later.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah. So
I was just trying to remember the year. Was it 81? 81?
the year he found the money was 80.
80, okay.
Yeah, it was February 7th, 1980.
Yeah.
And so...
And that money was degraded as fuck, too.
Oh, yeah.
So it had been there a long time.
Yeah.
Well, since 71.
Yeah. So, and it's like Cooper, he's a big deal. Like he's pretty much a folk hero.
Yeah, dude.
You
yeah.
know, I mean, like you said, there's countless movies and stuff, and there's actually a general store in Ariel, Washington every year.
Because it made them famous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Every year, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, they have a DB Cooper party.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so it's all DB Cooper themed. They eat buffalo stew for 3 meals a day, and it sounds pretty awesome.
I watched, at the end of the documentary, I watched, like, they were like, I'm DB Cooper, I'm DB Cooper, I'm DB Cooper.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
But, like the most intriguing thing for me is that like they never got any solid suspects, like,
which is amazing.
There were over 1,000 people interviewed by the FBI.
Yeah.
And recently there have been people who's like a family member or something.
So, I know who he was.
Well, and the most famous one is actually Ken Christensen. And so Ken Christensen, he had military background. He was actually a purser on for NWA, which is like the purser is like the stewardess supervisor.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so they sort of have schedule preference and stuff. So like, it was questioned, like, why wouldn't he know how to operate the aft stairs if he was a purser and stuff like that? But, he had seniority, so he was always on international flights. So it's not necessarily a given that he was ever on the 727 to work the aft stairs because he did international stuff. And the guy that you mentioned, Richard McCoy, he was another suspect. A couple years later.
That's right. Yeah.
A couple years later, he hijacked a plane.
It was like a copycat thing.
Yeah, it was pretty much a copycat. He got $500,000, parachuted out. They found his name somehow.
Well, he bragged about it.
Yeah, he had bragged about it, but like they found him like through the investigation. So they show up at his house. They find like it was either a parachute or a jumpsuit in his closet.
Well, it was both.
Yeah,
it was both.
Okay, it was both. Yeah, and they found $499,970.
So he went and spent
right.
He like took a couple bills out.
Yep. And another one that I thought was,
but he got away with it. If he wouldn't have bragged,
yeah,
he would have got away with it.
Another one that I thought
he'd be more famous than DB Cooper.
Definitely, really interesting was a person named Bobby Dayton. Okay, so Bobby Dayton is lesser known as far as popular suspects, but Bobby Dayton was actually in the Merchant Marines, a pilot, a mechanic, and he had military experience. But the thing about Bobby Dayton was he was also transgender.
Wow.
So
okay.
The theory is, and so in the book that I was listening to, it kind of skips back and forth, and it talks about all these different suspects, right? And so it sort of begins. Like it talks about Ken Christensen and sort of like his background. It talks about Richard McCoy. It talks about Bobby Dayton. And so it sort of gives like a little bit of their personal history.
Okay.
And so right around 1970, Bobby Dayton was actually trying to go through a change operation.
So was Bobby Dayton cis male or cis female? I'm even saying that wrong. It's born male, born female. Which one?
Yes. So Bobby Dayton was born male.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I just got to say it right. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. So he was,
cis is wrong. I just realized that cis is wrong. Yeah. Go ahead.
so he was military, right? And so he actually had a family and kids. But anyway, and so right around 1970 was when he began trying to get an operation.
Oh,
right?
okay.
And so the theory is, right, he hijacked the plane, dressed in a suit, hijacked the plane, escapes, transfers as a woman, and then nobody's looking for a woman. They're looking for a man.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So that's kind of one theory.
More power to her, man.
Right, exactly. But yeah, that's
pull that shit off.
That's kind of like one of the wilder theories. But like as far as theories go,
that's fucking pretty crazy. It's fucking pretty crazy.
There were also actually a couple of conspiracy theories regarding. So one of them was actually, So first of all, if you think back to what we talked about, we said that the pilots didn't want to leave Tina behind.
Right.
So here's the thing. When they were on the runway...
switch places or something?
Well, no. So when they were on the runway, Dan had Tina in the back. But then he got annoyed with her and was like, hey, go up front. Right?
Yeah,
so they were actually still on the runway when she went up front. So the reasoning was they were waiting on her to go, and that's why they didn't leave. So the theory is... what if the pilots were in on it, right? They had the opportunity to leave, but they didn't. Nobody got hurt.
Well,
right?
Here's the thing: is $20,000 enough to be on a conspiracy?
But here's the thing: they were doing it to pressure the airlines for higher security. You know what I mean? And furthermore, the CIA. This is actually a more credible theory that the CIA actually, designed the whole thing to prompt the airlines for increased airport security.
That's not that far-fetched, man.
Yeah.
That's not that far-fetched at all.
So, I mean, if you think about, like, as smooth as it went, like, there was no loss of life. Like, no money was ever found.
No guns.
Yeah.
No guns.
It could have even been a fake bomb. Like, they don't know. Like, he took the bomb with him. Like, all that stuff was gone.
And then here's the thing. Why would he take the bomb with him?
Yeah.
Why would he take the bomb with him?
Right. Why would he take the bomb if it was active and take a chance on it exploding while
in
he was
the
parachuting?
air?
Yeah. And honestly, like, they were afraid that he was going to jump and leave the bomb in the plane.
And detonate it while he was...
detonate it. Yeah.
So, like, why would he take the bomb with him?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big one.
So,
I have to piggyback on that one, man. Like, I think that's... Why would he take the bomb with him if it was real?
Yeah. So... Or what was there some sort of Bigfoot theory?
All right, so we like
maybe he disappeared into a Sam Squinch interdimensional rift.
Maybe so. So like there's because you know me, dude. I'm a Bigfoot guy. We all know this. If you ever listen to this show, I'm a Bigfoot guy. So he jumped over the Pacific Northwest.
He did, yes.
Which is the hot spot for Sasquatch in America.
Okay.
It's like, so the one theory that I've read so he landed, he survived, was camping, making his way through, fucking got took out by a Bigfoot, man. Like, came across the wrong hungry fucking alpha male, and
well, that's fine, but the thing is, like, they never found a parachute.
They've never found a Bigfoot
evidence. Yeah, fair enough.
But like that's that's. Okay, so in that area, here's the big thing, is if you disappear, because there's a lot, dude, you can look it up on the internet, there's a lot of missing persons in that area.
Just because the forest is so dense.
Of course.
That's why they had trouble looking for him.
Of course. But, people like me are going to, also going to lean into, there's a large hominoid predator in that area.
Yeah.
And, it would be just like if you parachuted into... our neck of the woods, get taken out by a fucking cougar.
Yeah.
That.
Or a javelina.
Yeah, javelina. That's just a thing.
Yeah.
You take it or leave it. But, that's one thing that's actually very popular is that, DB Cooper jumped out over the Pacific Northwest, jumped into the woods.
Yeah.
The number one hot spot for if you give any credence to Sasquatch.
He's in the bush, mate.
He's he's in the woods, man. He's in the weeds.
Yep.
Think about, okay, let me just kind of like throw this at you for a second. Like, just throw all disbelief to the side.
Okay.
Just throw all disbelief to the side. Say you jump out of an airplane, you survive, you hit the ground, you got your shit. You're like, oh my God. And then you're like camping for a night or so. And then you look up and there's a 12-foot tall fucking hominoid creature that's covered in fucking fur that's fucking hungry.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying. Like I said, you can take that theory and throw it to the wind for all I care. But like that's the thing that's it's a big thing in the DB Cooper story.
For sure.
Like hit the Pacific Northwest in the middle of the fucking night, which is Sasquatch like hunting prime time. So yeah. I'm just gonna leave it there, man. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll have you know that Dan Cooper was actually the Canadian G.I. Joe.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Actually,
yes, he was.
Seriously though, so Dan Cooper, there was actually a European comic book called Dan Cooper, and so it was about this Canadian airman. He was basically a military paratrooper. He was basically like the Canadian G.I. Joe.
Well, you showed me a couple of the comic book covers.
Yep. And so it's written in French. It's never been translated to English. But yeah, that's one theory as to where the name came from. Because,
that's cool, man. Yeah, like I said, you showed me a couple of the covers. They're pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool. Like you said, Canadian G.I. Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the one in particular, I remember he's like falling through the air. I wish you guys could see me. He's like falling through the air with his chest forward and his arms back. And, pretty cool, man. Pretty fucking cool. So, but I really enjoyed the DB Cooper, brother.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was good.
Yeah, it was like we got to talk about Bigfoot. We got to talk about hijacks. We got to talk about true crime.
Hell yeah.
I thought it was pretty fun. What are we doing next month?
You're doing the Night Stalker. Right?
I am, man. I am.
That's going to be a good one.
We're actually going to be joined by Tony, which has been on the show a couple times.
Hell yeah.
More than once.
You think we're going to need 2 parts for that one?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm going to put together a coherent start to finish. It might be a 2-hour episode, but
that's what's up.
Yeah. It's going to be good, man. Like, we love all you guys that listen to the True Crime Corner.
Yes, thank you for your patience. Sorry we were gone for a while.
Yeah. We we're just doing our solid research now, man.
Yep.
You're not just putting them out just to put them out.
Exactly.
So. But we love you guys, and thanks to True Crime Corner. Josh, what's up? Give me a fist bump.
Hell yeah.
True Crime Corner, episode what?
Episode 8.
8. And look forward to episode 9, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brothers. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much. See you next time.